And I will also share my screen. So welcome to Course in Miracles. And let me just get all of this out of the way. There we go. We are in Course in Miracles, Chapter 18, Section 3, The Light in the Dream. You who have spent your life in bringing truth to illusion, reality to fantasy, have walked the way of dreams. For you have gone from waking to sleeping, and on to a yet deeper sleep. Each dream has led to other dreams, and every fantasy that seemed to bring a light into the darkness, but made the darkness deeper. Your goal was darkness, in which no ray of light could enter. And you sought a blackness so complete that you could hide from truth forever, in complete insanity. What you forgot was simply that God cannot destroy himself. The light is in you. Darkness can cover it, but cannot put it out. As the light comes nearer, you will rush to darkness, shrinking from the truth, sometimes retreating to the lesser forms of fear, and sometimes to stark terror. But you will advance because your goal is the advance from fear to truth. The goal you accepted is the goal of knowledge, for which you signified your willingness. Fear seems to live in darkness, and when you are afraid, you have stepped back. Let us then join quickly in an instant of light, and it will be enough to remind you that your goal is light. Truth has rushed to meet you since you called upon it. If you knew who walks beside you on the way that you have chosen, fear would be impossible. You do not know because the journey into darkness you do not know because the journey into darkness has been long and cruel, and you have gone deep into it. A little flicker of your eyelids, closed so long, has not yet been sufficient to give you confidence in yourself, so long despised. You go toward love, still hating it, and terribly afraid of its judgment upon you. And you do not realize that you are not afraid of love, but only of what you have made of it. You're advancing to love's meaning and away from all illusions in which you have surrounded it. When you retreat to the illusion, your fear increases, for there is little doubt that what you think it means is fearful. Yet, what is that to us who travel surely and very swiftly away from fear? You who hold your brother's hand also hold mine. For when you joined each other, you were not alone. Do you believe that I would leave you in the darkness that you agreed to leave with me? In your relationship is the world's light, and fear must disappear before you now. Be tempted not to snatch away the gift of faith you offered to your brother. You will succeed only in frightening yourself. The gift is given forever, for God himself received it. You cannot take it back. You have accepted God. The holiness of your relationship is established in heaven. You do not understand what you accepted, but remember that your understanding is not necessary. All that was necessary was merely the wish to understand. That wish was the desire to be holy. The will of God is granted you, for you desire the only thing you ever had or ever were. Each instant that we spend together will teach you that this goal is possible and will strengthen your desire to reach it. And in your desire lies its accomplishment. Your desire is now in complete accord with all the power of the Holy Spirit's will. No little faltering footsteps that you may take can separate your desire from his will and from his strength. I hold your hand as surely as you agreed to take your brother's. You will not separate, for I stand with you and walk with you in your advance to truth. And where we go, we carry God with us. In your relationship, you have joined with me in bringing heaven to the Son of God, who hid in darkness. You have been willing to bring the darkness to light, and this willingness has given strength to everyone who would remain in darkness. Those who would see will see, and they will join with me in carrying their light into the darkness, when the darkness in them is offered to the light and is removed forever. My need for you, joined with me in the holy light of your relationship, is your need for salvation. Would I not give you what you gave me? For when you joined your brother, you answered me. You, who are now the bringer of salvation, have the function of bringing light to darkness. The darkness in you has been brought to light. Carry it back to darkness from the holy instant to which you brought it. We are made whole in our desire to make whole. Let not time worry you, for all the fear that you and your brother experience is really past. Time has been readjusted to help us do together what your separate pasts would hinder. You have gone past fear, for no two minds can join in the desire for love without love's joining them. Not one light in heaven but goes with you. Not one ray that shines forever in the mind of God but shines on you. Heaven is joined with you in your advance to heaven. When such great lights have joined with you to give the little spark of your desire the power of God himself, can you remain in darkness? You and your brother are coming home together after a long and meaningless journey that you undertook apart and that led nowhere. You have found your brother, and you will light each other's way. And from this light will the great rays extend back into darkness and forward unto God to shine away the past and so make room for his eternal presence, in which everything is radiant in the light. Ah, that was lovely. Hi, Cynthia. Glad that you're joining us today.
Hello, good to see everyone.
Yeah.
Hello.
So that was interesting. That always makes me feel, it always makes me think about my special relationships, right? Like my current special relationship with my husband, with my daughter, with my son, and all of my past special relationships, you know, that I was in and I am still in, right? Because all minds are joined, even though bodies are separate. You can't ever separate from the one mind of God, right? So it's good to know that all special relationships are brought to that place of at one-ment and that place of being holy.
Yes.
Anybody
It's
have any?
It's reassuring to know that, at least for me, it's reassuring to know that all those relationships that I have had, especially the personal relationships, the really ones that have had the most meaning to me, I'm still in contact with them, with these people, you know?
Yeah, I am too. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I know some people don't like having communication with their exes, right? And some
Right.
people feel threatened by it, right? Your current relationship might feel threatened. Oh, why are you talking to your ex, right? But you know, when you think about it, that's because that goes back to what I read earlier, that the meaning we gave to love is not the real meaning of love, right? Love is not about having that one special relationship with one person, right? Love is about being at that place of one mind of love and truth with all of your brothers. And
You just said it
what
with
we
all.
fear, right?
With
We
all,
fear like,
yes.
oh my gosh, but if
Even the
if
ones that have died.
all of them, sure. Yeah. Sure.
I think my phone froze again.
It did, but we can still hear you, I think, unless
Okay.
you were talking and we didn't hear you.
No, I went silent because I said that
Okay.
even the people that have died,
Yes.
still
Yeah.
have a relationship with them.
Right. We heard that.
Because,
Yeah.
you know, they come in my dreams. I mean, and when I think of them,
Right. And even the people that are living that we had holy relationships with that seemed to be unresolved, in my case, the relationships became holy through my dreams. It wasn't even having to be with them physically together, right? Because at the time it was an abusive relationship and it wasn't possible to be physically together, but it still became a holy relationship and healed through the dreams, which I think is also kind of really cool when you think about it.
yep, yeah. Yeah, I recently had a conversation with my ex, my first wife, and it was the best conversation we've had ever.
Mm.
Among one of the things that really struck me the most was that she said to me, "You are probably the only person right now that knows my most intimate secrets in life," and blah blah blah. She went on this whole. I was crying. She made me cry.
Ah,
Right.
that's so nice. That's
Because
beautiful.
that's the way I was with her as well. That's the
Sure.
kind of intimacy we've had.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's beautiful.
you know, what can I say to that? Right. That made my whole year. I guess, or that made my whole life. Actually,
Yeah.
it was that rewarding. You know, to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
beautiful. And I like that it says, then we bring that light back to the darkness, right? Once our relationship has been brought to the light and brought to the truth, then we bring that light back to the darkness to light the way. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and it helps. I think it helps. It has helped me to be where I am presently.
Right.
You know, where I'm getting to know somebody, and it has become really kind of. I don't even know what the word to say is. Contentious, a little contentious, perhaps.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I have to learn to pull back and let things happen. You know, so I'm out of trying to control situations or anything about it. That's the way it has taught me to just be calm, you know, ask faith to happen and let it be.
Right. Right. Yeah. You know, I was listening to when I was reading paragraph 4 that said there was a part that said the holiness of your relationship is established in heaven. You do not understand what you accepted, but remember that your understanding is not necessary. All that was necessary was merely the wish to understand. And it's funny because Jeff and I kind of had this conversation this past week. We were talking
You froze
about,
up on my end.
oh, did I freeze on everybody's end? No, okay. But during one of our conversations, I said, you know, when we got together, the purpose of our relationship was to help each other grow individually and together, and to challenge each other's frightened parts of our personality. And that was the purpose of our relationship, was to grow spiritually. And I said to him, I don't think you really understood what you were agreeing to when when we got together, I said, even though I made it perfectly clear in words, I said, I don't think you understood what that really meant, what that life really meant. And it's interesting, as I was reading paragraph 4, it said, the gift is given forever, for God himself received it. You cannot take it back. Right? And the wish was the desire to be holy. The will of God is granted you, for you desire the only thing you ever had or ever were. So it was like somewhere the wish was granted, even though maybe the understanding wasn't clear. Like, what is it? Like, what is this relationship? Like, I think I want to be with you, but I don't know what that means. So, yeah, kind of interesting.
Well, and when what that said to me, just wishing what you wanted was the key to the whole thing. Just the fact that you wished it
Right.
is the understanding of it. That's where the
Yes.
understanding of it is. That's what I got from it.
Yeah. 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 That's
But be
awesome.
careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
That's right. That's happened many times in my life. For sure. Words are powerful. Okay, any more conversation, or should we go to the little willingness? All right, let's keep going. The little willingness. The holy instant is the result of your determination to be holy. It is the answer. The desire and the willingness to let it come precede its coming. You prepare your mind for it only to the extent of recognizing that you want it above all else. It is not necessary that you do more. Indeed, it is necessary that you realize that you cannot do more. Do not attempt to give the Holy Spirit what he does not ask, or you will add the ego to him and confuse the two. He asks but little. It is he who adds the greatness and the might. He joins with you to make the holy instant far greater than you can understand. It is your realization that you need do so little that enables him to give so much. Trust not your good intentions. They're not enough. But trust implicitly your willingness, whatever else may enter. Concentrate only on this, and be not disturbed that shadows surround it. That is why you came. If you could come without them, you would not need the holy instant. Come to it not in arrogance, assuming that you must achieve the state its coming brings with it. The miracle of the holy instant lies in your willingness to let it be what it is. And in your willingness for this lies also your acceptance of yourself as you were meant to be. Humility will never ask that you remain content with littleness, but it does require that you be not content with less than greatness that comes not of you. Your difficulty with the holy instant arises from your fixed conviction that you are not worthy of it. And what is this but the determination to be as you would make yourself? God did not create his dwelling place unworthy of him. And if you believe he cannot enter where he wills to be, you must be interfering with his will. You do not need the strength of willingness to come from you, but only from his will. The holy instant does not come from your little willingness alone. It is always the result of your small willingness combined with the unlimited power of God's will. You've been wrong in thinking that it is needful to prepare yourself for him. It is impossible to make arrogant preparations for holiness and not believe that it is up to you to establish the conditions for peace. God has established them. They do not wait upon your willingness for what they are. Your willingness is needed only to make it possible to teach you what they are. If you maintain you are unworthy of learning this, you are interfering with the lesson by believing that you must make the learner different. You did not make the learner, nor can you make him different. Would you first make a miracle yourself and then expect one to be made for you? You merely ask the question. The answer is given. Seek not to answer, but merely to receive the answer as it is given. In preparing for the holy instant, do not attempt to make yourself holy to be ready to receive it. That is but to confuse your role with God's. At-one-ment cannot come to those who think that they must first atone, but only to those who offer it nothing more than simple willingness to make way for it. Purification is of God alone, and therefore for you. Rather than seek to prepare yourself for him, try to think thus. I, who am host to God, am worthy of him. He who established his dwelling place in me created it as he would have it be. It is not needful that I make it ready for him, but only that I do not interfere with his plan to restore to me my own awareness of my readiness, which is eternal. I need add nothing to his plan, but to receive it, I must be willing not to substitute my own in place of it. And that is all. Add more, and you will merely take away the little that is asked. Remember, you made guilt, and that your plan for the escape from guilt has been to bring at-one-ment to it and make salvation fearful. And it is only fear that you will add if you prepare yourself for love. The preparation for the holy instant belongs to him who gives it. Release yourself to him whose function is release. Do not assume his function for him. Give him but what he asks, that you may learn how little is your part and how great is his. It is this that makes the holy instant so easy and so natural. You make it difficult because you insist there must be more that you need do. You find it difficult to accept the idea that you need give so little to receive so much. And it is very hard for you to realize it is not personally insulting that your contribution and the Holy Spirit's are so extremely disproportionate. You are still convinced that your understanding is a powerful contribution to the truth and makes it what it is. Yet we have emphasized that you need understand nothing. Salvation is easy. Just because it asks nothing, you cannot give right now. Forget not that it has been your decision to make everything that is natural and easy for you impossible. If you believe the holy instant is difficult for you, it is because you have become the arbiter of what is possible and remain unwilling to give place to one who knows. The whole belief in orders of difficulty and miracles is centered on this. Everything God wills is not only possible, but has already happened. And that is why the past has gone. It never happened in reality, only in your mind, which thought it did is its undoing needful. Ooh, that sounds like a sci-fi intro. I kind of like it. Only in your mind, which thought it did is its undoing needful. Ooh, I really like that.
Those last three lines go together, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And that is why the past has gone. It never happened in reality.
Mhm.
We were just talking about that before we got on before we started recording. We were talking
Yep.
about the story, the stories we create.
Yep. And because they change with time,
Yeah,
that's the proof that, you know, did that really happen that way?
right.
No, it never happened at all.
Because anything that changes is part of the illusion. Yeah,
Hmm.
interesting.
That's the proof, you know, you can't. So that's what happens, you know, you say, oh, I know this happened this way. And then if you have somebody that also was with you in this occurrence, and they say, no, no, that's not the way it happened. So now you have conflicting stories,
Right.
meaning that none of those two things are true.
That's right. That's right.
So it happens in our mind as well. You know, in our mind, as time passes, we forget stuff. Or maybe it's not that we forget, maybe it's just that because it never happened, we see it differently. Who knows? Point is, it's in the past, it's gone.
Yeah, right. And it never really happened in reality.
You know, I refer back to The Lion King when Rafiki finds him and, you know, he says it's time for you to come back to the kingdom. And he's, I can't go back. He starts going on about what happened, this and that, you know. I said, I'm so ashamed, so much shame, I never go back. And he whacks him over the head with his stick. And he says, what'd you do that for? He goes, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a very intense part of the movie, which I didn't get until I saw it, like, I think the second time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Interesting. Anybody else have any comments about the past and a little willingness, right? Because we make it so difficult, don't we?
Well, and it also, I mean, it's hard to conceptualize something like that unless you've experienced this, like, you know, from the movie that I saw that time with Lion King and other things like this, you know, when the story changes, that whole story about you tell a story here, when down the line, by the time it gets down to the 10th person, it's a whole different story. So you see the proof of these things before you begin to say, you know what? There's something to this truth. This is truth.
Mhm.
Because you're getting all these different points of view that kind of.
Oh, you froze for a minute there, Ernesto. Right in the middle of your conversation. Hopefully you'll come back. We missed a lot of that, Ernesto. You froze.
I know. I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
connection today has been really poor.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what's going on with this. And I have two. Why I got Verizon and I got Spectrum, and now they're trying to sell us another one, Empire. So I might just go with Empire, get rid of these other two. I don't know.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting too, talking about when you think you need to prepare yourself for the holy instant, right? Because I think that's the question. The Course in Miracles always says it's simple, right? You don't need to prepare yourself. You just have to have the little willingness. And if it's so simple, why do we fight against it? Why don't we just have that little willingness? What are we so afraid of? What are we afraid of losing? Right? That would be a good question to ponder, and maybe to not ponder the question, but maybe go through the questions that they have in paragraph 5. I, who am host to God, am worthy of him, right? Maybe those would be good mantras for us. He who established his dwelling place in me created it as he would have it be. It is not needful that I make it ready for him, but only that I do not interfere with his plan to restore to me my own awareness of my readiness, which is eternal. I need add nothing to his plan. So it's saying that, you know, everything that we need to accept the at-one-ment is already inside of us. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to make any special preparations. We just need to have the little willingness to allow it to be. All right, let's go on to the happy dream.
Okay.
The happy dream. Prepare you now for the undoing of what never was. If you already understood the difference between truth and illusion, the at-one-ment would have no meaning. The holy instant, the holy relationship, the Holy Spirit's teaching, and all the means by which salvation is accomplished would have no purpose. For they're all but aspects of the plan to change your dreams of fear to happy dreams, from which you waken easily to knowledge. Put yourself not in charge of this, for you cannot distinguish between advance and retreat. Some of your greatest advances you have judged as failures, and some of your deepest retreats you've evaluated as success. Never approach the holy instant after you have tried to remove all fear and hatred from your mind. That is its function. Never attempt to overlook your guilt before you ask the Holy Spirit's help. That is his function. Your part is only to offer him a little willingness to let him remove all fear and hatred and to be forgiven. On your little faith joined with his understanding, he will build your part in the at-one-ment and make sure that you fulfill it easily. And with him, you will build a ladder planted in the solid rock of faith and rising even to heaven. Nor will you use it to ascend to heaven alone. Through your holy relationship, reborn and blessed in every holy instant you do not arrange, thousands will rise to heaven with you. Can you plan for this? Or could you prepare yourself for such a function? Yet it is possible because God wills it, nor will he change his mind about it. The means and purpose both belong to him. You have accepted one. The other will be provided. A purpose such as this, without the means, is inconceivable. He will provide the means to anyone who shares his purpose. Happy dreams come true, not because there are dreams, but only because they are happy, and so they must be loving. Their message is, thy will be done, and not, I want it otherwise. The alignment of means and purpose is an undertaking impossible for you to understand. You do not even realize you have accepted the Holy Spirit's purpose as your own, and you would merely bring unholy means to its accomplishment. The little faith it needed to change the purpose is all that is required to receive the means and use them. It is no dream to love your brother as yourself, nor is your holy relationship a dream. All that remains of dreams within it is that it is still a special relationship. Yet it is very useful to the Holy Spirit, who has a special function here. It will become the happy dream through which he can spread joy to thousands and thousands who believe that love is fear, not happiness. Let him fulfill the function that he gave to your relationship by accepting it for you, and nothing will be wanting that would make of it what he would have it be. When you feel the holiness of your relationship is threatened by anything, stop instantly and offer the Holy Spirit your willingness, in spite of fear, to let him exchange this instant for the Holy One that you would rather have. He will never fail in this. But forget not that your relationship is one. And so it must be that whatever threatens the peace of one is an equal threat to the other. The power of joining its blessing lies in the fact that it is now impossible for you or your brother to experience fear alone or to attempt to deal with it alone. Never believe that this is necessary or even possible. Yet just as this is impossible, so is it equally impossible that the holy instant come to either of you without the other. And it will come to both at the request of either. Whoever is saner at the time the threat is perceived should remember how deep is his indebtedness to the other and how much gratitude is due him, and be glad that he can pay his debt by bringing happiness to both. Let him remember this and say, I desire this holy instant for myself, that I may share it with my brother whom I love. It is not possible that I can have it without him, or he without me. Yet it is wholly possible for us to share it now. And so I choose this instant as the one to offer to the Holy Spirit, that his blessing may descend on us and keep us both in peace. Sometimes that seems easier said than done, depending on the situation, right? But eventually it is done. I think this has to be a poster, right? So that when we get to those moments where one of us is more sane than the other, we can remember to say these words. Right? I desire this holy instant for myself, that I may share it with my brother whom I love.
I've been in those situations where I don't say those words, but I do ask. I say, you know, help me out with this because I don't understand what's going on here. I need help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where somebody's just going off, you know?
Yep. Mm-hmm. I remember that happened in one of my relationships. Gosh, probably 20 years ago. Maybe even more than 20 years ago. It was more than 20 years ago. So like 25 years ago. And my partner at the time was going off, right? And it was like a habitual going off. He just had this rage. And I lit a candle right in the middle of the whole argument that he was trying to have with me because I was like not having it. I lit a candle and I just looked into the candle and I just was like trying to be at that place of peace. And then I don't even remember what I said to him, but all these words just came through me. And they had nothing to do with what he was even talking about or complaining about or yelling about or trying to fight with me about. And it was just like all of these words just came through me and it put the fire out. It was amazing. It was just like the right words came and I said exactly what needed to be shared. And I can tell you right now, it didn't come from me because I was just trying with all of my might to disengage from the fight and just be at that place of at one minute with that light, the light of the candle in front of me. And it works, right? And it is like saying, I desire this holy instant for myself that I may share it with my brother whom I love. And it just like blah, blah, blah. All of the things just came.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I can remember a specific time where I was doing a yoga class and I guess I mentioned things that were spiritually from the spiritual realm. And at the end of the class, this lady came to me and started by saying that, you know, she was offended by some of the things that were being said, and especially some of the things that I was saying. And I tried to ask her what was it, and then she just went on this rant, and it was just me and her in the class left over.
Mm.
And I asked for help because I just didn't know how to deal with what was going on. And the words that came to me was after, because she's the last thing I heard was, and I'm a God-fearing Christian. And I said, I'm a God-loving Christian. And that dissipated the whole thing. She got real quiet, and I could see her whole demeanor change.
Yeah.
And no words were exchanged after that. And then she became super friendly with me, super friendly. I mean, just it changed the whole relationship that we had in class, put it that way, after that.
Yeah.
And like you said, I don't know how that came to me, because yeah, I'm a Christian, but I mean, I have to say, I guess I'm a Christian because that's how I grew up, but it isn't something that people ask me sometimes, are you a Buddhist? Because I have this Buddhist rosary that I carry in my bag.
Right.
And so people ask, so I tell them, no, I'm not a Buddhist. And I don't think I'm a Christian either. I don't know what I am, but I know one thing, that there is a divine force out there that is with us all the time. And if we ask for help, it does help us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't know, I've shared this before, but just when you were talking about whether you were a Christian or not, it reminded me when one of my partner's granddaughters looked up to me and said, "Are you Jewish?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, are you Christian?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, what are you?" And I said, I guess I'm everything. And I'm also nothing. And that just seemed to be the right thing, because I felt like all those labels would just somehow separate me from that one mind of God that we all share. How could I be one thing and not all of them? And yet, how could I be all of them when I'm really just the mind of God, which is none of them? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, interesting.
Yeah, but those things kind of stuck with me. What happened to me, because you hear you hear that phrase a lot from a lot of Christian people. I'm a
God fearing. Yeah.
God fearing whatever, right?
Right, right.
And so just to add the word in there, just love,
God loving.
and the whole dynamic of it.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Because I mean, what do you really hear yourself saying when do you really know what you're saying when you say something like that? I guess is the big question, because that word fear speaks volumes.
Yeah. Yeah. True. True.
And so does love.
All right. We've got another section that's kind of long, but I think we can get through it. And I made a note that I need to make this into a meditation. So I'm kind of curious why I wrote that. So let's see. I will continue. See what happens. Beyond the body. There is nothing outside you. That is what you must ultimately learn. For it is the realization that the kingdom of heaven is restored to you. For God created only this, and he did not depart from it, nor leave it separate from himself. The kingdom of heaven is the dwelling place of the Son of God, who left not his Father and dwells not apart from him. Heaven is not a place, nor a condition. It is merely an awareness of perfect oneness and the knowledge that there is nothing else, nothing outside this oneness, and nothing else within. What could God give but knowledge of himself? What else is there to give? The belief that you could give and get something else, something outside yourself, has cost you the awareness of heaven and of your identity. And you have done a stranger thing than you yet realize. You've displaced your guilt to your body from your mind. Yet a body cannot be guilty, for it can do nothing of itself. You who think you hate your body deceive yourself. You hate your mind, for guilt has entered into it, and it would remain separate from your brothers, which it cannot do. Minds are joined, bodies are not. Only by assigning to the mind the properties of the body does separation seem to be possible. And it is mind that seems to be fragmented and private and alone. It's guilt which keeps it separate, is projected to the body, which suffers and dies because it is attacked to hold the separation in the mind and let it not know its identity. Mind cannot attack, but it can make fantasies and direct the body to act them out. Yet it is never what the body does that seems to satisfy, unless the mind believes the body is actually acting out its fantasies. It will attack the body by increasing the projection of its guilt upon it. In this, the mind is clearly delusional. It cannot attack, but it maintains it can, and uses what it does to hurt the body, to prove it can. The mind cannot attack, but it can deceive itself, and this is all it does when it believes it has attacked the body. It can project its guilt, but it will not lose it through projection. And though it clearly can misperceive the function of the body, it cannot change its function from what the Holy Spirit establishes it to be. The body was not made by love. Yet love does not condemn it and can use it lovingly, respecting what the Son of God has made and using it to save him from illusions. Would you not have the instruments of separation reinterpreted as means for salvation and used for purposes of love? Would you not welcome and support the shift from fantasies of vengeance to release from them? Your perception of the body can clearly be sick, but project not this upon the body. For your wish to make destructive what cannot destroy can have no real effect at all. What God created is only what he would have it be, being his will. You cannot make his will destructive. You can make fantasies in which your will conflicts with his, but that is all. It is insane to use the body as the scapegoat for guilt, directing its attack and blaming it for what you wished it to do. It is impossible to act out fantasies, for it is still the fantasies you want, and they have nothing to do with what the body does. It does not dream of them, and they but make it a liability where it could be an asset. For fantasies have made your body your enemy, weak, vulnerable, and treacherous, worthy of the hate that you invest in it. How has this served you? You have identified with this thing you hate, the instrument of vengeance, and the perceived source of your guilt. You've done this to a thing that has no meaning, proclaiming it to be the dwelling place of God's Son and turning it against him. This is the host of God that you have made. And neither God nor his most holy Son can enter an abode that harbors hate, and where you have sown the seeds of vengeance, violence, and death. This thing you made to serve your guilt stands between you and other minds. The minds are joined, but you do not identify with them. You see yourself locked in a separate prison, removed and unreachable, incapable of reaching out as being reached. You hate this prison you have made and would destroy it, but you would not escape from it, leaving it unharmed, without your guilt upon it. Yet only thus can you escape. The home of vengeance is not yours. The place you set aside to house your hate is not a prison, but an illusion of yourself. The body is a limit imposed on the universal communication, that is an eternal property of mind. But the communication is internal. Mind reaches to itself. It is not made up of different parts which reach each other. It does not go out. Within itself, it has no limits, and there is nothing outside it. It encompasses everything. It encompasses you entirely, you within it, and it within you. There is nothing else, anywhere or ever. The body is outside you, and but seems to surround you, shutting you off from others and keeping you apart from them and them apart from you. It is not there. There is no barrier between God and his Son, nor can his Son be separated from himself except in illusions. This is not his reality, though he believes it is. Yet this could only be if God were wrong. God would have had to create differently and to have separated himself from his Son to make this possible. He would have had to create different things and to establish different orders of reality, only some of which were love. Yet love must be forever like itself, changeless forever and forever without alternative. And so it is. You cannot put a barrier around yourself because God placed none between himself and you. You can stretch out your hand and reach to heaven. You, whose hand is joined with your brother's, have begun to reach beyond the body, but not outside yourself to reach your shared identity together. Could this be outside you where God is not? Is he a body? And did he create you as he is not? And where he cannot be? You are surrounded only by him. What limits can there be on you, whom he encompasses? Everyone has experienced what he would call a sense of being transported beyond himself. This feeling of liberation far exceeds the dream of freedom sometimes hoped for in special relationships. It is a sense of actual escape from limitations. If you will consider what this transportation really entails, you will realize that it is a sudden awareness of the body and a joining of yourself with something else in which your mind enlarges to encompass it. It becomes part of you as you unite with it, and both become whole, as neither is perceived as separate. What really happens is that you've given up the illusion of a limited awareness and lost your fear of union. The love that instantly replaces it extends to what has freed you and unites with it. And while this lasts, you're not uncertain of your identity and would not limit it. You've escaped from fear to peace, asking no questions of reality, but merely accepting it. You have accepted this instead of the body and have let yourself be one with something beyond it, simply by not letting your mind be limited by it. This can occur regardless of the physical distance that seems to be between you and what you join, of your respective positions in space, and of your differences in size and seeming quality. Time is not relevant. It can occur with something past, present, or anticipated. The something can be anything and anywhere. A sound, a sight, a thought, a memory, and even a general idea without specific reference. Yet in every case, you join it without reservation because you love it and would be with it. And so you rush to meet it, letting your limits melt away, suspending all the laws your body obeys and gently setting them aside. There is no violence at all in this escape. The body is not attacked, but simply properly perceived. It does not limit you merely because you would not have it so. You're not really lifted out of it. It cannot contain you. You go where you would be gaining, not losing, a sense of self. In these instants of release from physical restrictions, you experience much of what happens in the holy instant, the lifting of the barriers of time and space, the sudden experience of peace and joy, and above all, the lack of awareness of the body and of the questioning whether or not all this is possible. It is possible because you want it. The sudden expansion of awareness that takes place with your desire for it is the irresistible appeal the holy instant holds. It calls to you to be yourself within its safe embrace. There are the laws of limit lifted for you to welcome you to openness of mind and freedom. Come to this place of refuge where you can be yourself in peace. Not through destruction, not through a breaking out, but merely by a quiet melting in. For peace will join you there, simply because you have been willing to let go the limits you have placed upon love and joined it where it is and where it led you, in answer to its gentle call to be at peace. That's so beautiful. It reminded me of a dream I had of my 13-year-old granddaughter who just turned 2. Right? Like there were no limits of body and space and time. I had a dream that I was having a conversation with her. I could see her clear as day right now, and I knew it was her. And she was talking to me. We were sitting on this big old oak tree. It was kind of bent like a bench, but the tree was massive. And I remember what she was wearing and her cute little short haircut. And she had these cute little black boots and this little black skirt and these like little stockings underneath it and this little crop jacket. And she was climbing up on the tree and jumping down. And we were having this really interesting conversation, just being together. Can't remember the conversation. I don't think the conversation was really important, but the fact that it was her and we were there spending time together was just so interesting. I was like, oh my gosh, that was 13-year-old Isabel, and she's not even 2 yet.
Boy, now there's a dream. I mean, I have dreamt a lot, but I've never dreamt of somebody in the future.
Right? I know. I think that was the first time that had happened to me. And I was
Wow.
like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it just goes to show, like, we think we're limited by these bodies, but we're so much bigger than that, right? The mind of God encompasses everything. And we're not limited to the body. We just have to let go of the idea that we are. Or to
We're not
space, time.
time either, right? There you go.
Yeah. So any other shares anybody want to add before we close today? I know it's almost 1:30, but I don't want to cut anybody off from sharing. Well, next week looks interesting. I need do nothing. It's one of my greatest lessons. Definitely. I always think I have
Edmund
to.
just the Unity talk on it.
Oh,
was
did
passed-
you?
That was it was Edmund's topic in Unity.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
This last Sunday. Yeah. Yep.
I miss you guys. I miss getting together with you in Unity. That was always a fun get together. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. It's always a pleasure to have you here and sharing and conversation and reading and learning and growing and expanding and letting go and all the things. So thank you, everyone. And I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.